Jonas Sultan is joining Jadrian Casimero and Nonito Donaire in the sweepstakes for a fight against Japanese boxer Naoya Inoue. Bill, do you feel Jonas Sultan is biting more than he can chew at the moment because of the success that he gained from his last two fights? Or is it just setting up a future big goal ahead of him?
But let's remember that it's been 3 years since Jonas Sultan fought for a world title and lost. And for a lot of fighters, that's a very long time. But, we were talking about how big a night December 11 is going to be. And it's going to be an even bigger night for him because he's waiting for all of these fights to be over and done with. Of course, Inoue is fighting on the 14th of December. So he has to wait for all of these guys. And then those guys are going to have to take some time off because it's going to be the holidays. So he has to be patient because his only other option would be a rematch with Caraballo. And we all know that, the fix is in if he's going to fight Caraballo. He only won that unanimous decision by 1 point in all the judges' scorecards, despite having 4 knockdowns in that fight. Kaya delikado siya pag nag-rematch siya. So kung ako sa kanya, maghihintay na lang ako. Now, the question is, you were asking, is this biting off more than he can chew? I think if you're looking at the styles of the two, Inoue is going to be very problematic for Sultan, particularly given his style. No, Attorney Ed Tolentino broke it down for us. Now it's like Rocky Marciano. He lunges when he throws punches, and that sometimes takes balance. Now Inoue is very surgical and very precise in the way he fights. That's why he's called the monster. Kaya delikado si Jonas Sultan pag pumatol sa dyan. Kung ako sa kanya, why not? He said he's reluctant to, but why not go after one of the other Filipino world champions? So, I don't know if Donaire is gonna have any problems against Caballo. So if Donaire wins, if Casimero wins, he can go after one of them. I'm sure they would give him a shot. So especially considering Casimero will want to fight again right away dahil pakiramdam niya, lugi siya. Dito sa kikitain niya dito sa laban na to. And at the same time, there's a lot of turmoil in his camp right now. It's a very dangerous time for him. So if he can get past Butler in this fight, then he'll want somebody who would be comfortable fighting. And for them, it's just business. No, for Jonas Sultan, of course, siyempre, mas nakatatanda yung dalawa sa kanya, mas medyo hinahangaan pa niya. But that's boxing. You try to beat up whoever is put in front of you. So for me, mas gugustuhin ko pang maghintay siya kaysa pumatol siya sa kung anong ihain sa harapan niya. Dahil if he goes back into the ring against Caraballo, delikado siya doon. Kasi nakita na natin yung muntik na mangyari sa New York, di ba? Kaya sa akin, maghintay na lang siya. I mean, it will be worth it if he becomes a world champion.
I truly believe that the last two fights of Jonas Sultan were a big confidence booster on his part, but we cannot change the fact that he has yet to establish himself as a bantamweight, more so as a ranked bantamweight contender, similar to the case of Mark Magsayo as a featherweight ranked contender. Now, I just hope that MP Promotions can sustain the momentum of his most recent win, because it's too early to say if he will get a title shot. Number one, though he is ranked number 9 in the WBA, the Intercontinental title that is now in his possession came from WBO, and he's nowhere to be found yet in the WBO bantamweight rankings. But that win, that most recent win, may break him in the WBO rankings. Now, I would like to see Jonas Sultan in a 12-round fight first against an opponent who's outside top 10 or top 15 before taking on ranked fighters that will help him secure a world title shot. Ngayon, para sa tingin ko, Bill, masyado pang hindi pa hinog hilaw pa. Do you agree with that?
Well, I agree with that. That's one of the reasons why I'm suggesting. Mas maganda pa siguro kung sakaling talagang nagmamadali na siyang lumaban para sa isang world title, might be easier to arrange one with a fellow Filipino.
Yes.
Okay, because one, they're his elders, no, the 2 reigning Filipino world champions in that division. So they might have a little more confidence in fighting him. You know, and two, should he lose, there's no shame in it. Dahil nga sabi nga natin, medyo maaga-aga pa ng konti, has yet to re-establish himself. You're making a point about Mark Magsayo. We've discussed this before on the show that at that level, you have to overcome an elite fighter who is naturally at that weight.
Yes.
And for Jonas Sultan, he's taken the long and winding road back to become a contender. But we don't know what the next couple of weeks will bring. It's only early in the month of November. The ratings will come out later on in the month, and we don't know how having won that Intercontinental belt will impact his ratings in the other boxing organizations as well. But you're right. I do feel that there may be the need for an intermediate fight before going on for a world title. But then the question is, what is being offered to him? Diba? Para ano bang mga pagpipilian niya? Gaya na sabi ko kanina, para ang pinapain sa kanya yung rematch kay Caraballo at alam nating delikado siya ron. Diba? So his options may be either to wait for a world title shot or wait for something better to come along, which will probably be early next year.
Bill, let's say that Sultan gets a couple of important wins in the future. Can you imagine a picture of Naoya Inoue being chased by 3 Filipino boxers?
Yeah. Sabi nga nila, ang haba ng hair niya. Marami siyang manliligaw. But you know, Inoue is also very smart. He's playing it safe.
Yeah.
He's not going after the more dangerous fighter now. And that anticipation also has a time limit on it. If you remember, everybody wanted to see a Pacquiao Mayweather fight, and it happened 3 years later than it should have. It still set records in terms of pay-per-view, but you know, I think it still would have done more if it had been held a year or two earlier. So for me, that's the important thing. You know, Inoue is playing his cards right. He's playing keep away from the Filipino world champions. But how long is that going to last until people will start thinking, hindi, ayaw naman niya talaga lumaban eh. Diba? Di wag na lang.
Bill, if you're the matchmaker of Jonas Sultan, which fight would you rather book? A fight against Naoya Inoue or a rematch with John Riel Casimero?
That's very interesting. You know, I think Cuadro Alas has changed a lot. I think they're both dynamic fighters, but you know, when you think about it, in either of those situations, Jonas Sultan will still be the underdog. You know, of course, not just because they're bigger names, but they're more experienced. They've been fighting at a much higher level, and like we said, it's been 3 years since he's tasted a world title shot. So you know, there has to be still some more growth on the part of Jonas Sultan. So he leaves himself vulnerable a lot of times also, and he's proven though he can take a hit. But the question is, against somebody with more experience and more finesse, I don't see him really coming away a clear winner.